Hey, my name is Tapvir and I welcome you to Blazehat Technologies. I hope you all are doing well. So today what we are going to do is we are going to print this inverted pyramid, and I have already written the code. I'm just going to compile it and show you what exactly it's going to be the output. So I'm going to run this command. Just give me a second. I'm going to run this by pressing Control F5. Yeah. So say if I'm going to enter 9, it is going to print the inverted pyramid, and then it is going to ask you whether you wish to continue, and if you say yes, press Y, it will again continue, and say in this case I'm going to print say 20. It's going to show you the inverted pyramid. Okay, now this is the code that we are going to do, and if you press any other letter from your keyboard other than Y, it's going to exit the program. Let's make this. I'm super excited. So before we proceed, I would like you to take a moment and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon. You may follow Blazehat on Facebook, Twitter, and Blogspot. You may also visit the website. Follow me on GitHub. My GitHub account is Tapvir Singh. You may follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is Tapvir_Singh. So with that, let's begin with the code. Now this code will be available on GitHub. Okay. So let's start. I'm going to rewrite the complete code. So say include iostream, and then I'm going to say include conio.h. Then I'm going to say using namespace the standard and int main void return 0, the usual statement. Now to print this, there will be two loops. The outer loop will look after the rows and the inner loop will be looking at the columns. So first we need to create row stars and row spaces. Initially I'm just going to say 7 here, and we'll be printing 7 stars. I'm going to make it more user friendly later on, but currently I'm just going to hard code 7 for immediate purposes. Then row spaces, it's going to be 0. So the next thing that we are going to do is we're going to say for, we're going to create a row loop to loop through the rows, and we aren't going to declare anything. What we are going to do is we're going to say till rows stars is greater than 0, row stars decrease it by 2. That is because the topmost row, if it's going to have say 5 stars, then the next row will have 3 stars. So if the topmost row is going to have 5 stars, this next row is going to have 3 stars. So we have eliminated 2 stars here. We don't have 2 stars here. So that is why we are decrementing it by 2. Now we aren't just printing the stars, we are also looking at the spaces here. So we have one space here, and then we'll have another row which is going to print single star, and this is going to have 2 spaces, and this is going to have 1 space. So the space is incrementing, as you can see. So we have already declared the space here. So what we are going to do is we are going to increment the spaces also. So we're going to say row spaces plus plus. Now let's look at the column. So we're going to say stars for printing column. We are going to initialize the stars with stars, row stars. So we are assigning the value of row stars to stars. Next, we want to create stars until it is greater than 0. Till it is greater than 0, we need to print the stars. Then we will decrement the star by 1. Similarly, we also need to have something that can monitor the columns. So we are going to say spaces, and we're going to start with 0 because first row has 0 space, then the second row has 1 space, and third row has 2 spaces. So we're going to start with 0 space. We aren't going to check for any conditions because there are no conditions. If there is one more star here and then we need to add one more space here, the only condition that we need to look is for the stars, not for the space. Then we are going to increment the spaces. Now there are two things that we are printing in a row. One is space and the other one is star. To print the space and star, we need to have some sort of condition here. So what kind of condition are we looking for? The condition that we are looking for is that if there are any spaces available, if there is any space that we need to print, so till the time spaces is less than row space, which means simply means that if there are any spaces to be printed, now this is the space variable that is deciding whether we should be printing any space or not. The first space is going to be 0, as we have initialized row spaces with 0. It is going to see that if there is any space to be printed, this is 0, the spaces is 0 and row spaces is 0, so it is they are equal, so this condition fails. It will not print any space in the first row. Second row, the row spaces is incremented by 1. Now row spaces is 1 and spaces is 0, as we have initialized and spaces here with 0. So since it is smaller than row spaces, it is going to execute whatever code is inside these braces. So for in this case, we are going to print C out, and let's say we are going to print spaces plus 1. Why plus 1? We just want to show what exactly are we printing. And then in the next line, we will add spaces by 1. Okay, so we are going to remove this. We don't want it to be here because we will increment the spaces in this. We have a condition to implement. We need to make sure that increment space only if the space is printed. Else, if we aren't printing spaces, then we are printing the star. For that, we are going to say cout, and then we are going to say star, and we are going to decrease the stars. Since we have printed one star, so we need to decrement the star. So by doing that, we are now printing the stars and the spaces. But currently, there is no way that these can be printed in a pyramid. As you can see at the end of this, there is a new line character. We need to have a new line here so that the cursor moves to the new location, new row. For that, we need to make sure that new line is printed at the end of new row. So we'll be printing end line character after this loop ends. After we have printed all the columns and we are at the end of the column and there is no more column to be printed, then we need to print the new line. So this is the place that we add new line. Now let's have a look if we can print 7 stars using this code. As you can see, we are now printing 7 stars, and instead of space we have numerical values here which indicate the number of spaces we are adding here. So to improve the code, we are going to remove spaces plus 1 and instead we are going to add space here. Now let's try again. As you can see, now we are having a perfect inverted pyramid. Let's improve the code by adding few more lines. First, we want to have the user defined input. So for that, we are going to say enter stars in in the row. Then we will take the input row stars, and let's remove this. Here we have a user defined input from the stars. Let's add another character here, ch, and this character is going to take the input from the user if he wishes to continue. So we'll say do run this code, do this while ch is equal to lowercase y or ch is equal to uppercase y. So if either of the statement is true, either ch is equal to y or ch is equal to uppercase y, that is capital Y, you must run this. If it is not equal to y, then you must end the loop. Now we now need to take the input for ch. We're going to say cout \n. Do you want to continue? We're going to say yes, y for yes, and then we are going to say ch is equal to getche. Getche is similar to getch, but the only difference is it echoes the input. Now let's run this code and see if it is working correctly. I'm going to press Ctrl F5 to execute the program. So enter stars in a row. I'm going to say 9, and it prints 9 and asks me if I wish to continue. I'd say yes, and I'm going to print 21. It is printing 21 stars. If I press any other letter, it's going to end the program. Okay, now we have a bug in the program. So what are bugs? Bugs are some unexpected results that may come up. Now, what is a bug? The bug is that when we entered 9, as you can see, there was no space in the first row. But as we entered 21, we can see there is spaces here. Why is that? So let us look into the code. The reason is that when we initialized row spaces, we initialized it and assigned 0 outside the do while loop. So the next time when the loop runs, when you say yes, I wish to continue, every other value changes. Every other value starts with the beginning, the initial value. But row spaces runs from the last space, which last value that has been incremented. So it is not 0 here. What we need to do? Well, we need to remove 0 from here. We can assign 0 here, but we don't need to, because we are going to assign row spaces 0. We can assign it row spaces 0 in here. Now, as per the rule, in a for loop, you may eliminate all the options. You can, this is a valid statement. This is not an incorrect statement. This is valid. All it means is that this loop is going to run forever unless or until you have a if statement within the code to break from the loop. If there is any break statement, there is a break condition, only then this is going to end the loop. Otherwise, this is as good as saying while 1. This is as good as this. There is no difference. These two loops will run forever. So you can have, you don't have to initialize this part. You can, as I said, so you can have it here as well, but it doesn't make any difference. I think it is better to put it in the for loop itself. So if we do that, let's run the code again and see if it is working correctly. First we have 9 spaces. I say yes, I want to continue, and then I'm going to say 21. And now that space problem is solved. As you can see, the space problem is solved. So with that, thank you. This code will be available on GitHub, and do subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is Tapvir underscore Singh. So with that, thank you for watching.